Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the March edition of Minorities in Cybersecurity Community Call. I am Mary Chaney, the Chairwoman, CEO, and President of Minorities in Cybersecurity, and recent award winner because of Minorities in Cybersecurity of the one of the top 12 security leaders of 2022. So thank you guys all out there, and we're getting recognition and we're getting support out there from a lot of different people. So thank you guys for joining us today. For those that you can, for those that are watching on our on the YouTube page or watching on our Facebook page, please feel free to comment, to like, to share, to subscribe, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So I usually have slides. It's spring break. I was traveling. I failed to do my slides. So we're just going to have a conversation. This month's topic we're going to talk about is cheerleaders, and having your own set of cheerleaders or people that are in your corner when you're going through stuff. So basically if you've watched any of my videos, you know most of these conversations that we have publicly during these community calls are based on things that happen in my own life and what I see out there. And many of you know, if you know the history of minorities in cybersecurity, that it was founded just essentially to assist individuals with having a community of support when times are trying. I think that minorities and women actually leave the field a lot because of culture issues or lack of feeling wanted in spaces. And so this is a space where you're wanted, and that we tried to create a safe space for us to have some challenging and difficult discussions. As you know, that we have the Mike Lead, well, you may not know, I say as you know, like you know, but we have the Mike Leadership Development Program, and I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that applications are open for the June session. The June session will run June 11th to December 3rd. The Leadership Development Program that we have is meant for those professionals that are 5 years or more looking to move from individual contributor into a people leadership type of role. And we take our leaders through various different training sessions, 3-hour sessions every other Saturday, where we discuss different leadership topics and how to improve our leadership capabilities through these discussions. So if you meet those qualifications, and even if you don't, I would suggest you apply to join the June session. It is sponsored by Bloomberg, so there will be no cost to the individuals that are accepted to the program. And again, we're only accepting 15 applicants. But one of the things that came up this month, this month, I would say, was I've been talking to a lot of women. It's Women's History Month, and I've been talking to a lot of women that are really struggling with trying to balance all the things that we do. And they're struggling because of what I see is additional pressure to put on themselves. Of course, you guys know that there's a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk about mental health issues, and I found myself the past few weeks being a cheerleader to a lot of my mentees and peers and friends based on some really tough things that they were going through. I think that it's important to take care of yourself from a mental health perspective and learn your coping mechanisms. Because if you have your career, well, just take me, for instance. I have my career. I'm a single mom. I run a nonprofit. I'm a public speaker. I'm a teacher at the University of Cincinnati. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of noise, a lot of, level of noise that's going on in my life. And so whenever there's a blip or something goes out of whack, it's always challenging to get that back. And so, I've learned throughout my career, I've had to learn coping mechanisms. And what I mean by that, there are certain things that I do to quiet the noise, because it's really just self absorbed mental churn that's going on in your head. It's usually not anything that's people are yelling at you. Hopefully they're not yelling at you and doing all this other stuff. It's just the churn in your head and the mind that keeps going and obsessing about different things. And I've learned that there are a few things that I can do to help. Now, I work out. I work out all the darn time. I probably work out between 4 and 6 times a week. I call myself a gym rat. I don't just, it's not just one thing. So, you can find me running, you can find me lifting. What I really love to do is kickbox. You can find me on the bike, anything and everything to essentially quiet the noise in my head. Exercise is one of those things. And music is also one of those things. And then I was talking to Tracy before we started this recording about taking time away from screens. And I think that that's important in today's age. I think that it's a good leadership trait to have, is to allow your people not to OCD based on what you're saying or doing. Now, I've had bosses in the past that are night owls. I guess that's it. And I've had bosses that seem to be on their email or on their phone constantly. Bosses with families that seem to be on their emails constantly. And as a leader, when you are a people leader and you're actually thinking about what it is that you want your employees to take away, you want to have an opportunity for them to step away. I never wanted to be the type of boss that an individual felt that they had to be on their phone and monitoring their email or IM or text message or whatever every minute of every day. And I routinely did not, because computers, you can set stuff to send forward, right? So if I had a thought in the middle of the night, I can actually just save it and wait until the morning to send it, as opposed to taking an opportunity and sending it after hours, right? And there was a time in my life that I was in the security operations center. I was doing incident response and I had to be available. But I told my people, if you really want me to pay attention to something, and if it's an emergency, I think I need you to call me first. I need you to call me, and don't expect email to be a way to get in contact with me during those emergencies. And I would do the same for you. And I would set out. I told my teams, I said, this is when my kids were younger. They're teenagers now, which is a whole nother deal. But when they were younger, I said, look, between the hours of 5 and 7, don't expect me to respond. And I think it's very important for your mental health, really, to set those boundaries, because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, especially in cybersecurity, to know everything. We feel like we have to know everything. And that is a fallacy, right? We have to follow. In social media, we have to follow this person and see what this person has to say, and do this and do this and do this. And it creates a situation where I've had this month, women coming to me burnt out. And I'm spending time, and I joke around with a lot of folks, and I say, if you don't want honesty, don't call me. Because I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to give it to you straight. And I've had several situations this particular month where, I was told, oh, you're absolutely right, but I hate you for being right. And so, all I'm saying is, you can't take on this whole idea that you have to do it all without giving yourself an opportunity to rest there. And I'm going to get my colleagues involved in here, and I'm going to ask, if for you guys to comment, what are some of your coping mechanisms that you're getting when things are getting entirely too stressed? What do you do? What do you like to do?
Okay, I'll go. I'm like you, Mary. I weight train, and the heavier the weight, the bigger the frustration that leads. And also, I take walks between meetings, either with my dog or without my dog, but most likely without my dog. And I'll take my phone, but I don't put my earpiece in because I just don't want to hear anything. I just need quietness, and that quietness equates to cars passing by, children playing, things like that. So that's how I cope, especially during the workday when it's a stressful time.
Mhm. Do you ever walk and take a conference call while walking?
I've had them while I'm in the car driving on my way to someplace, to Target, that type of thing. I've been on those calls before, but then there's times when they want information from me, and just in case, I pull over and I have my notepad with me, and I'm like, okay, I can either answer the question, or most of the time they know that I'm in the car. I say, in an hour, I can reply back to you. And the people are fine with that. As long as you're giving them a time frame, they're happy with that.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Anybody else want to share? I'm not gonna force you, Charles, to share any of your coping mechanisms.
I don't mind sharing. Yeah, I
Okay,
have some
okay,
good coping mechanisms and bad ones, right? So I
okay.
love ice cream. I love chocolate. I love, right, those things when I'm stressed out as well. But definitely can appreciate walking. I haven't done it in probably the last couple of months here in Chicago. It's very, very cold, but used to take um, meetings, especially like large group meetings, kind of while I was taking a walk, right? So those are a very nice things to do. Yeah, so that's probably the few things I do. I probably, too much more ice cream than walking here lately, but and I need to fix that.
It's Chicago. It's Chicago. It's like, come on. I have several people that I know in Chicago, and I used to have a team in Chicago when I worked for GE Capital, and I didn't travel to Chicago until after March. It was like April through September, and then
Yeah.
that was it. That was it. And do you have a team, Charles? If you don't mind me asking, do you manage a team?
Yes, and they're in, spread across North America. So spend time in the US and Canada.
Mhm.
But yeah, so, try to, that's the other thing I do too, in terms of setting up meetings and connecting with people, especially during COVID, setting up times with folks where we don't talk about work, just catching up with people and just making sure people are doing well. And, I spend, at least an hour a day doing that, where I just try to just check in with people and make sure people are well, and, seeing what support they need as well. Also, so.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, I think as a leader, it's important to give your people that opportunity to know that they can be human, right? A lot of times, especially in this space, we feel like we have to be robots and we have to churn out all of this stuff. And it's like, hold on, pause. You have a lot going on. You can be human. And sometimes it takes a leader or their boss to show them that it's okay to show that vulnerability, just to be able to have some sort of exhale.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah, because I think that, part of the thing that, I've been dealing with the people around me is just a positive, or providing a positive outlet, or someone that they can actually chat with that is going through something similar, right? That has gone through something similar. And I think as we get older, we start to reflect on a lot of different things. And I'm finding that younger professionals are burning out faster. I'm finding that they're spending a lot of time, or putting a lot of pressure on themselves to be the best that they can be. And I can tell you what, and I'll tell you, I talk in stories, right? And I'm going to tell you what I've told my teams before. I said, you're talking to a woman that has a license and a badge to hold a gun to someone's chest, head area that could actually literally take a life. And you want to talk about stress. So you have to discern whether or not this person is a threat. That means you have to be clear-minded. So if it is not life or death, I guarantee you we will survive. And and that's ultimately, I mean, incident response is always that area that, oh, we have to do this, 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 this. And it's like, okay, take a breath, take a breather. Is it life or death? You know, first of all, let's put this in the proper perspective. And a lot of times we mentally make bigger deals than what they really are by making assumptions about what others may be expecting of us. And it's usually a self, you know, it's you putting the pressure on yourself. I haven't met a woman or a minority yet that doesn't put extra pressure on themselves to prove themselves in an environment because they don't, you know, of what, you know, people will term imposter syndrome. I have this ongoing argument that we as minorities and women don't have time to suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't believe in it because we have to work so darn hard just to even be at the table or in the room. We are very well qualified most of the times to be in the rooms that we're in, yet we still feel like everyone else knows more than we do, especially with women. We tend to do that often. And it becomes a take a step back because it's only you that believes that. It's only you that are putting that extra pressure on yourself. And don't get me wrong, there are unconscious biases out there. I mean, I am not discounting any of the studies that have been done, any of the, just even here recently, the culture issues that we have in the cybersecurity perspective, profession, and those are real. Those challenges are real. We put added pressure on ourselves because for some reason we think it's in our control to, if I put out all of this effort, if I do all of this the right way, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it the right way, that this is going to be the answer, right? We get education, we get certification after certification after certification. I need to know this and get a PhD. I got to do this, I got to do this. And we do all of this stuff based on an insecurity of our own without understanding that, well, Bob over here doesn't even have a degree and he's my boss. And so how is that fair? And so those are the types of things. It exists and I know it's out there, but what I'm talking about right now is the additional pressure we put on ourselves just by the conversations that we're having with ourselves in our head. And, you know, there are times where we put work above everything else and in attempts to try to write something that we're doing in our professional lives. So I think that, I mean, I've been seeing different things that are happening out there in regards to corporations and how they're handling this situation. I've been told that there are organizations out there that perform actually mental health assessments on applicants before they actually are allowed to work for a company. I mean, I know there's drug tests. I didn't know. Does anybody, Tracy or Charles, have you heard about this? Mental health test?
Yeah, not a required mental health assessment, but there are resources being made available to help people cope or do kind of have, you know, voluntarily get support, right, relating to not only mental health issues, but, you know, if they have any major life events. We're actually piloting a program. There's a program called Circles, for example, which provides additional support and help for non-traditional kind of tasks, kind of more than an EA, if you from that perspective. So, you know, everything from, you know, if you have a, you know, a need relating to family or just caring for yourself, you know, you can get help right from others. as well as, just, tons of coaching programs where you can sign up for a coach. We use the service called Better Up, where we allow people to sign up for coaching as well, to get that support, because it kind of ties back, and that's why I like your cheerleader kind of theme. It's important for people to have support and to feel comfortable with getting support. So, if it's coaching, if it's, getting a therapist, and, the company supporting that, where I work now, we are providing like all those resources. There's a big focus on just wellness, just from what all that we've come through over the last 2 weeks, and even with the current situation with the situation in Ukraine, right? It's just and just in general with inflation, and just, there's just a lot going on in people's lives. We want to make sure that, people have the resources to be well, because at the end of the day, that's what's important. That's what's most important.
Tracy, what about yourself? Have you heard about mental health assessments prior to positions being offered?
No, I've not heard of that. It's more so I've heard that people have been overworked and they seek the health after that. And it may be the same organizations, because if their people are constantly leaving because they're overworked, then that could be helpful. But does that add to the whole hiring process? Because some people have very extensive or a long drawn out hiring process. So in addition to the behavioral testing that you do, the technical testing, now you're having a psychological profile. And are people able to, what's the word, thwart? I may be saying it incorrectly.
Cheat the system.
They may be able to, the same people who can a polygraph test, who can outsmart a polygraph test. So if they know going in that, hey, I'm going to have this, and I have this in my back of my head, this psychological issue, let me figure out a way to,
try to pass the assessment appropriately, even though, Well, I think it's more so, it may have to do with the higher you go up, because the higher you go up in, on the chain, the corporate chain, the more the leadership traits and qualities that you have is necessary, because we've all had bad bosses, right? I'm going to make the assumption we all have. I know I have. And I have, since I have leadership development as the leadership development program, even before then, I will term myself to be a leadership snob, just essentially because of what I term characteristics and traits that are not indicative of good leadership. And I term it, your ego, and can you really test for ego? And I think, outside of watching Criminal Minds, and, outside of being I was a behavioral interviewist as well when I worked with the FBI, and did some other stuff I'm not supposed to say, and I'm going to stop right there. But in interviewing individuals, there are certain things that you can determine about a personality type through questions, right? But I think the executive level, the C-suite, usually I would say 6 months, from start to end, if you are looking for someone at that level. And I've been in interview processes that have gone 3 weeks, and I've been in interview processes that have gone 6 months, depending on the role. And I can, depending on the time of the year, as well. Once June gets here, it's slim pickings, and then once Thanksgiving hit, it's slim pickings until sometime in the middle of January. So the ebbs and flow of those things, but understanding, I think the The challenges are there from a mental health perspective. That whole cheerleading section matters, right? And throughout my career as a, in this space, and specifically in the cybersecurity space, it's not been as if I've had a lot of people who look like me that I could reach out to that were um, in my organization specifically. Let's go there, because a lot of times at my level, I entered into corporate America after leaving the FBI as an executive. So I was a director level. I've been a director level my entire time in corporate. Senior director to director. So I've been in that spot, in that executive spot, and it becomes my experience is different than someone that is starting out as a college graduate or transitioning into the cybersecurity field. And their experience in trying to grow their career becomes a different animal. But for me, the higher I've gone up, the more isolated I felt, and the need that I felt to surround myself, what we call personal board of directors, but surround myself with people that when things are really bleak, because we all have moments that we're just like I am. I'm about to go on vacation. I'll use myself as an example. I'm about to go on vacation next week. I am not really trying to hear anything right now when it comes to work. I don't know. It's Friday. It's 4:30 Central Time. I'm technically off, and I'm going to turn off this computer when I get off this phone. Although I still have minorities and cybersecurity stuff to do the next couple of days. However, I'm not. I feel mentally like I just need to break, right? And so because of everything that's gone on, our CFO, left the organization this week, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, what, this organization has been up and down my entire career. So, you're suffering and you're struggling, and it's like, oh my God. And of course you have to have your friends you text, and, you have to have the friends that you can call and say, girl, what in the blankety blank is going on? And so it's you need those people, because we tend to, or at least I found that a lot of minorities and women that are in and around my life, when things are getting really, 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 really tough, they isolate themselves. And that's pretty much the worst thing you can possibly do, because then you're just listening to yourself. And I joke around and I said, oh, so you're just talking to yourself. That's ultimately what you're doing, because we're all working from home. So who else is in the room besides yourself that's telling you all of these things, that's causing all of this additional level of stress? So you need to phone a friend. And you can call me now. Again, if you don't want the truth, please don't call me, and don't call me next week. I'll be on vacation. But all that to be said is you have to have these community of folks. Now, throughout my career, I've hired coaches, I've had mentors, and I have my personal board. I have my friends and that are in the industry, and friends that are outside the industry that I can actually lean on when things are just really, really, really tough. And you have to surround yourself. Okay, so surround yourself with positive people. The people that you need to reach out to need to be more positive, or at least have the capacity to be a cheerleader, because we also have those folks that are drains, right? I mean, we have folks in our lives that just like, when you see the phone and you're looking at the phone, oh, what is it going to be today? And those are the ones that you need your cheerleader after you have the conversation with them to really get you back and get you back focused. So, the folks that breathe life into it, I say, be the wind beneath your wings. And sometimes we just need a moment. We just need a moment to just decompress and just like, listen, I need somebody to just listen and just hear me. This is what's going on. And that is also a coping mechanism that, is useful as you're now trying to progress through your career. And, I would say, Tracy, for yourself and your personal board, if let's just say, how many people would you consider to be on your own personal board of directors?
I got 3.
Okay. You got 3 board members? Yeah.
Mhm. And they're going to tell it, they're going to tell me like it is. Yeah. And there's going to be no funny stuff. Straight, no chaser. And I'm up for that because I do the same with them.
No, that's great. In industry or out of industry? In cybersecurity or out of cybersecurity?
One is in cybersecurity and the other 3 are outside of cybersecurity. And the one that is, I'm thankful for her because it was a job that I got a couple of years ago where I wasn't the only woman. And I just felt I had to latch on to her. Okay. I had to latch on to her because I'm like, I'm always the only woman. And I'm like, I'm tired of being the only woman. So the minorities in cybersecurity has also expanded my group of women in cybersecurity who I can converse with and, bounce ideas off of. So yes.
That's great. That's what we're trying to do. What about you, Charles? Who's on your how many people you got on your board?
Well, the chairman of my board is my wife, for sure.
She's the chairwoman.
Yes, the chairwoman, exactly, the chairwoman. That's for sure. And then close to her, my 2 daughters and my son. So they definitely are key to me. And yeah, we have a very close-knit family. So from that perspective, we share a lot, and even professionally, they're in their 20s, so I share as much as I can so they learn as well. Just how to grow and be healthy and succeed, and just the freedom that they can assume they have, right, to be who they are and bring their entire selves to work. And they've been very successful, right, so far. So things are going good there. And then from a work perspective, so definitely within my company have 3 to 5 people who who I consider my board and who help provide feedback. Some peers, some folks who are at a lower level than me as well, and then of course folks who are superior to me as well, who can provide good feedback and coaching, and who I can get honest feedback from.
Honest feedback, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. I think that over the years, like I said, I've hired coaches to help, especially in transitioning out of the FBI and going into corporate America. That was a leap. And I've also been an entrepreneur. This is my 3rd company. Minorities in Cybersecurity is my 3rd company. And so, because I've been a pioneer in pretty much every aspect of my life, from undergrad to law school to FBI to owning my own consulting firm, to going into corporate and being corporate executive, to starting my own law practice, all the things that I've done, and being a professor at the college level, I've been, ultimately me. And so it's been difficult to, I didn't have that family to lean back on like my kids have. Like, my kids are 16 and 14. And so they are my bosses, essentially. They spend all my money.
Exactly. Exactly how you feel, right?
Right now, my 16-year-old is, new driver out in the car with the 14-year-old, and I'm trying not to lose my mind while I'm on the phone with you guys. But all that to be said, that you outside of my family unit, my kids, there's not a lot of people. So I've had to pull from different areas of my career different people that I've met to provide me that foundation, that levity, that, to pull you back when things are bleak and when things get down. And that's important. It's because you're only gonna go as far as you mentally have the capacity to do. And yes, you have moments. We all have moments. We all have moments where it's just like, but you have to be able to bounce back. And that mental resiliency is something we talk about often here, minorities in cybersecurity, just because you can take a moment. I'm gonna take a week, and I guarantee you I'll be back, and I'll be ready and ready to go once I get back and mentally engaged. But you have to be able to tell when you need that time and you need that space to say, okay, I'm getting overwhelmed, and knowing places to reach out to, and knowing the difference from being overwhelmed and overwhelming yourself. And there's a difference there. And I think the difference is nuanced. It's more understanding yourself, right? Having conversations with yourself, like I was having conversations with myself in the car, or this week specifically, I said, Mary, you're just ready to go on vacation. Everybody's going to get on your nerves this week. You have to accept that. Even the pets, my dog and cat, are getting on my nerves because I need the break. But that's different from, all the other things that I do on a day-to-day basis. I can get it all done and I can feel overwhelmed on one day, but then bounce back on the next day and go out there and, like I said, do some kickboxing helps. I advise everybody to kickbox. I mean, that is just the best thing ever as far as exercise goes. If you want to get out some frustration, trust me, kickboxing is the way to go. But cardio kickboxing, you don't have to hit nobody. It's just the bag. I'll show y'all the video next time. But just being able to acknowledge and knowing yourself enough to know and acknowledge that, okay, I'm doing this to myself, or somebody else, or the situation is just too much, right? And with jobs and with bad bosses, sometimes you can get and you can feel like you're putting all of this pressure on yourself for performance. And if you take a step back, you can understand that you can ultimately recover from those aspects of things. So this is the last 15 minutes. I like, it's only a few of us today. So, I like to have the last 15 minutes where I open it up. So we talk about any of the challenges that we're currently facing, any of the things that, advice, counsel, support that we can provide as a community based on what you're going through or what you're doing. So I leave the floor open knowing that it's only a few of us today, so.
Yeah, for me, it's really having just being focused on helping to bring up the next generation of cyber specialists and leaders. So I think we just have a big opportunity and, of course, a big need, right, to at a minimum just help people be aware of the career. I mean, it's a great career. The salaries are great, the opportunities are great, right? I mean, plenty of opportunities out there. And so just making more people aware that the opportunities there, and just being purposeful in hiring and recruiting, and just getting involved in just expanding, right? The next generation to really look at cyber as a career. I think that's kind of what I like to focus on, especially this year.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that for the way minorities in cybersecurity was founded has a lot to do with not only, it's about supporting those that get in, right? And there are there are a lot of organizations out there that are at the K through 12 level and even above that are trying to get people in this space. But I always ask the question, no one is servicing them to teach them how to build their careers.
Right.
And so minorities in cybersecurity, as we're organized at 4 different levels: aspirers, builders, communicators, directors. Aspirers being those that are transitioning or graduating from college, trying to get into the cybersecurity space. Our builders are those that are building their career out. They already have their first cybersecurity job. Now, what do I do, right? How do I now build my subject matter expertise and the leadership traits that you need to build that subject matter expertise? Our current leadership development program is at the communicators level, which are those that are trying to move from the builder or the individual contributor to the people leader, right? And that, how to lead others is a different animal, especially coming from an individual contributor. And then, of course, the directors level, or those that are trying to get to a executive level role, and the leadership qualities and traits and how to present yourself and what you need to get to that space. So that's how we're ultimately organized to support and help. And I don't call them soft skills, I call them survival skills.
Yep.
How do we now develop, because there are things that we just don't get. As a professor at the collegiate level, I'm here to tell you, cybersecurity or IT professionals don't know how to write an essay. I'm here to tell you that. Corporate communication skills or written communication skills is a must. If you want to get to an executive or a people leader role. And being able to write is something that we're not doing. If you can get to be a junior in college and you still can't write an essay, we're failing as educators to get you there. And there are nuances when it comes to executive communication, absolutely, but not knowing where period or comma goes, or not knowing which letters are supposed to be capitalized and which ones are not. In the text speak, right? And that, you're shorthanding stuff, as you communicate with your friends. But when you get into a corporate environment, you have to present yourself to be a certain level. And we don't get, minorities and women, we don't get the benefit of the doubt. My white male counterpart can use shorthand text speak in an email with all executives. I can't, and it is what it is. and understand that those types of things, those types of nuanced communication skill, that's important. So developing that and supporting those folks that are in, and that not only to get them there, but to support them throughout their career. Because you're right, Charles. I mean, it's a game changer for many minorities. Like I said, salaries are amazing, and that can change. That just changes generational wealth scenarios there. Yeah. So what about you, Tracy? I think the question was on the table. Is there anything out there, that you want to talk about, discuss, this on your mind based on our conversation that we've been having today?
Just want to reiterate or just piggyback on what you said. Having that cheerleader on your side is always important. And the fact that I know that I have, that I'm not going through this alone is very important. Okay. Because I will say that being the only woman working on a contract, and when you want to break down and you can't break down, if you want to talk to somebody, you can't talk to somebody. This has been very uplifting for me. All right. Having these cheerleaders in my corner. And I'm glad that I, have taken this turn in my professional career. It's long overdue. And I just want to see strides taking place over the next few years. And I will say that as a person who was initially a marketing major, where you wrote all the time, to a person who barely writes now, those written skills are important. But I will say that in my meetings, I get my point very much across. Very, very succinct in what I need to say and what I need done. You know, so yeah, that's it. Cheerleaders,
Yeah,
they're important
cheerleaders.
no matter where they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, that's right. So our themes for today, right, are find what are your coping mechanisms, right? When things are when things are real, it's starting, the stress level is starting to go up. And don't be like Charles eating chocolate and ice cream all the time. I need y'all to get out there and do some exercise. You know, that's what I'm gonna say. I mean, if you know me, you know that's what I'm gonna say. Find out what your coping mechanisms are, because they can reduce your level of stress and increase, your capacity. And what this is about is mental stamina. And we have to mental stamina, resiliency. If you're going to be in this space, this is not a track meet, it is a marathon. And there are certain skills that you have to have in order to be successful, because in corporate, not even in corporate and academia, any type of professional capacity that you want to be successful in, there are going to be things that you need and that you have to have. And, for yourself, coping mechanisms, right? Another thing, you absolutely, what I tell my kids all the time, you actually can absolutely control your own effort. And as much time as you're giving to that corporation, you need to make sure you're giving that much time for yourself, because our CFO will be walking out the door, but I guarantee you the life will go on, the party will go on, and it has to, in order for things to survive. So you can't kill yourself to try to be everything, anything and everything, without giving that time to yourself. I call it, time over ego, right? You don't have to have the phone with you when you're on vacation. You don't have to do these things. You can walk away. Things will go on. And, the last thing that I want to say is, in regards as you're doing all of these things, these coping mechanisms, finding your cheerleaders, that's going to say, look, you can do it. That when you're getting tough, you find your cheerleaders, you find your board of directors, you say, okay, this is what I'm doing. Take a breather, but get back on it, because we can't make a change. We, as minority and women hiring managers, have the capacity to make a real dent in the challenges that we have in moving that needle to the 4 to 10%, depending on whoever you're asking today about how many women and minorities or in the cybersecurity or IT space. The only way we're going to continue to make a difference is if we build that mental stamina, that mental capacity to get to the people leadership role. So now we're hiring people because we know how hard it took to get where we want to go. And a lot of times it comes down to somebody taking a chance on you as an individual to put you, to say, yes, you can do this. And for some reason or another, like I said, we can debate what that is, but minority leaders tend to take opportunities to mentor, coach, and develop other minority leaders in the space. And that's the only way we're actually going to move the needle. So you're doing all of this coping mechanisms, coaching, cheerleading, all of these things in order to get there. And then once you do get there, guess what you have to do? It's not over. You have to get back. So all of you, out there listening on the call today, what are you doing to help develop the next generation? We have to keep pulling each other up. So that's all I have today, guys. I know we're coming up on the hour. Any other closing thoughts, Tracy, Charles?
A very good conversation today. Thank you very much. It's awesome.
No, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
And glad to be here.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't get a good turnout today, but that's everybody's on vacation. I think everybody's on spring break with kids. So
The sun
thank
is
you,
shining
guys.
here in Maryland.
That's right. Quality over
It's
quantity.
shining here, man.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Nice
Friday night.
70s.
It's
Yep.
blue skies and 60, and I'm still on the phone call with you guys. So down here in Dallas, Texas. So And it's cooler today than it was yesterday, but I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next month.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
all.